Ready?
On today's episode of the DNVR Broncos Podcast, we're going to be talking all about the Broncos offense. We did a little bit of a deep dive on the defense yesterday. Today, kind of the same stuff. Why was the Broncos offense so much better in 2024 than it was in 2023? How easy will it be to replicate? How easy will it be to improve? So we'll get that started here in about 30 seconds. Welcome into the DNVR Broncos Podcast, live from the Toilet Lounge. I'm Chisholm, joined as always by Super Bowl 50 champion Todd Davis. And Todd, happy Bo Nix's birthday.
Is it his birthday today?
Today is.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Do you know how old he is?
Ooh, he's probably old.
32?
Same age I am. He's 25.
He is 25 today, yes. In honor of Bo Nix's birthday, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Broncos offense. Similar to what we talked about yesterday with the defense. First, though, I want to hit some news. The big thing being the Packers are trying to ban the Tush Push.
Wait.
Yeah.
Give it a minute.
All right.
So
Once
banning
again,
the
the
Tush
DNVR
Push.
Broncos podcast. The Packers are trying to ban the Tush Push. I'm curious what you think of that, Todd.
It is illegal. It does not feel like it should be a play that could be run. If we're worried about player safety and player health, that's why we changed the kickoff and kickoff return. Like, we have to do things that can protect our players. I feel like players just get piled up upon. I don't know if concussions happen, but it feels like too many bodies in one pile on one play. It feels like it's unsafe.
I feel like, that's like what everybody's saying, is
Yes.
it's unsafe. I'm curious if there have been any injuries. Like, I'm sure when the NFL goes to vote on this, they'll come up with all the stats. But I guess I just don't see as many tush pushes. I don't remember any injuries off the top of my head, but maybe if it was the Chiefs doing it, or if the Broncos were doing it, it'd be like, oh yeah, every week we're seeing something happen.
Well, the Chiefs tried it. Well, I remember one game where we were playing against Patrick Mahomes. I think he tore something in his knee.
Yeah.
Just
did.
mid-game, I think they tried to do like a little tush push. So
You were playing, you were playing,
yeah.
I was at that game. I was way up at the very top because it was in
And I
that
was
end
way at
zone
the
where
very
it's.
bottom.
I know. Yeah, we were a long way apart on that day. That was another tough day. I don't know about banning it though.
But why not? I feel like it's not. There's nothing exciting about it.
There's nothing exciting about QB sneak either.
No, it's not.
So do you ban that?
You just do it a lot less often. And there's not that many people pushing behind him.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm nervous about is defensive players getting rolled up on or pushed over, or somebody falling on top of them, because it's Jalen Hurts, who already squats 650 pounds, as well as a running back and a tight end that are pushing him forward. Nobody can, as well as the offensive linemen, who are average. I think their average was 6'4", 320 pounds. That's a lot of pressure on your body. And if anything is at the wrong angle, that's a snap, a twist, a pop. It's just not good for football, man.
If it turns out that it's actually bad for the players, if the injuries really are that high, then I could get behind banning it. But I think it'd be one thing if every team in the NFL was doing it. If every team was lining up and it's oh yeah, 3rd and 1s don't matter anymore because everybody's converting it. If it's kind of just the Eagles who make it work. Every other team, there are teams who try it, there are teams who are successful with it, but it's not like they're that much more successful with it than they would be on just a normal QB sneak. It's not just automatic unless you're the one team that's built really well. And there are other things that are automatic too, Super Bowl 50. You have DeMarcus Ware, you've got Von Miller, you've got Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, all rushing the pass.
It wasn't automatic.
It's
though.
basically automatic.
No, it's not.
What are
No,
the
it's
odds
not
you're
the
creating a
same.
pressure there versus the odds they convert a tush push?
No, the odds of creating pressure is probably 60%. I think it's above 50-50.
It definitely
but
is.
But it's not. The tush push is almost 100%. And I think if I didn't play defense, and the linebackers probably have the most important job of trying to stop it, because I don't know how you do it. You got to jump over the pile or something.
Totally.
Or if I was the Eagles fan, I would not want it banned. So I think I'm biased because I played linebacker trying to stop that play. I don't see how I could do it, honestly.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm just in general against banning things. Like in general, it's just like if you want to do it, keep it kind of open-ended. It's like in baseball when they ban the shift, where it's like you can no longer have like your first base, second base, shortstop, third base. You can't have the shortstop slide over past the second base. It's like if you want to line up your defense, you line up your defense however you want. Like it's the same thing in the NFL. Like if you want to put your linebacker way out there, go ahead and do it. It just that sort of freedom and the creativity. I want to reward creativity, and if you come up with a play like that nobody's figured out how to stop, at some point you ban it, but I think that point is when everybody's running it and it's always just an automatic first down, because that's when it really hurts the game. Right now there's only one team that does it, and it's something that they're really, really good at.
I don't like the pushing. Now, if they line up and can do a QB sneak better than anybody else, where there's nobody like pushing behind them, that makes sense to me. But I don't feel like, I think at one point it was banned to push from behind.
Yeah.
And I think that is the reason why the tush push should now be banned. Like, you shouldn't be able to like have double the amount of force on any given play.
I still remember, who was it? Was it Javonte who hit Justin Simmons this year, like at the 5-yard line, and then everybody like starts pushing him in the end zone?
Yeah,
I like those plays. Like that's fun. That's like get Quinn Miners in there, just
not
like
designed,
push it for. But it's like it
just happens.
It's fun. Like it feels like football. Like all these guys just getting up there and pushing.
Not the football I played.
No. California.
That felt like rugby. Everybody in a scrum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's California 7-on-7.
Yeah, that's your football. Yeah,
we're just fast out there. You know what I'm saying? Montana, you guys better run that
all
rock.
linebackers and safeties.
What linebackers and linebackers
and safeties? Yeah, we try for the O linemen. It just don't. They usually don't get that big. Usually you get like those 255-pound linebackers.
Okay.
Yeah. If the Broncos sign Taysom Hill, do they tush push with him?
We would try it. I mean,
You'd
he's
have to.
definitely like a big body.
Yeah.
Big enough to make it work, strong enough to make it work. I mean, why not? I don't know if he's ever ran that when he and Sean were in New Orleans together, but it feels like a Taysom Hill play.
It does. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing it, but that might just be because it's so easy to imagine.
Yeah, it feels like
you know
happened.
exactly how it looks, and you get like that one leg. Yeah.
But even then, I think even if you line up in the tush push and you run outside zone and things like that with Taysom Hill, that works too.
Yeah.
So I think he's a weapon because he is, even a little older, he still can help in plays like that. Short yardage for sure.
The exact same age actually as Rob Gronkowski, I believe. Who there were some rumors this morning. We'll get to that in a second. Taysom though, the more I think about it, the more I like it, because again, he isn't a tight end.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just so easy to put him in that box because it's hard to explain what he does. But if you're just looking for somebody who can add some juice to the offense, like you play him a little bit at running back, you play him a little bit at tight end, you flex him out in the slot, and he's just such a unique skill set. Like I would almost say, because I love Lil Jordan Humphrey, and I appreciate all the things he brought to the table. You'd have Taysom Hill do a lot of those things where it's like that in a bunch, tight, close to the line of scrimmage. He's a really good blocker. You put him in the slot, he can obviously block out there. You motion him. I think he might just be like an upgraded version of that. Plus, you throw in all the stuff he can do in the backfield.
The only thing with switching him with Lil Jordan Humphries, you're going to get different defenses.
True.
So now he's blocking a
true.
linebacker as opposed to Lil Jordan blocking a nickel, who he's usually bigger, stronger than.
That's a good point.
So it just definitely changes. Now, if you throw him on the field in 11 personnel, now you're like got that nickel package. You got Lil Jordan Humphries blocking, and now you have Taysom Hill running the ball. Now it becomes a bad matchup for the defense.
It does. But also, I mean, I agree, and I hadn't thought of that, and it really does kind of deflate half of my theory.
Yeah.
But you still, if they're matching Taysom Hill with a linebacker,
but is he
going to get open?
Is he a space creator as he once was, or is he like a unique piece in the backfield? I don't know. I don't know. I actually haven't watched a lot of Saints film?
I
in the
didn't
last
until
2
last,
years?
and I mostly just went back and watched the highlights.
Yeah.
I didn't actually go back and watch all the things that he did that, for all I know, he's missing blocks left and right because they're asking him to block linebackers, and I just have no idea because I watched the highlights. When I watched the highlights, I was like, oh,
He still got it.
that's this. He's got a lot of it. Like it's almost
50%
like
of
who are we talking about? Like Debo, where it's like
Yeah.
it used to be you give the ball to Debo on a screen.
Yep.
He might just take that 50 yards. And now it's like you give that ball to Debo. He's still
15,
going to like find the
15,
space.
20,
And he'll
yeah.
And 15 and 20 is good.
For sure.
15 and 20 is useful. It just isn't what it used to be. And Taysom, probably the same thing. The other piece of news, and this one I don't really buy, but our Cecil Lammy over there at 104.3 Denver Sport, he reported this morning that he's talked to people who believe that Rob Gronkowski is interested in coming out of retirement. He's been training up in Aspen, and he said the Broncos are among the teams that could be interested. Do you buy any piece of that?
Man, how many years has he been retired?
I think, yeah. And I think he actually...
That's it?
I think he retired in 2019, unretired a couple months later.
Yeah.
Was it just 1 year, 2020 with the Bucks, or was it multiple with the Bucks? Was it two? So 2021, and so he's out 22, 23, 24.
Yeah, I mean,
He's 35.
he's got
Should
to
be fresh.
really, really want to play. Because I would venture to say it's not because of the money. Because
Yes.
he's made great money. Ice
Also, he's
Shaker's
on
doing
Fox.
well. He's on Fox. Like, body probably feels amazing. He's like, I wonder if I could do it again. I don't know. I don't know if I buy it.
I'm sorry. You think like in 3 years, when you're 35, you can be like, you know what? It's time for me to come back.
I don't know if I'll ever come back, but I definitely have had thoughts like I could play right
Yeah.
now. And I don't know if linebacker play is at its peak right now. Not like knocking anybody in
No,
the
that's
league,
fair.
But I feel like just running downhill, staying in my gap, being solid,
Make the tackle.
make the tackle. Like I feel like I can still do that right
Yeah.
now.
Play first 2 downs.
First, second down,
Yep.
sign me up.
Easy.
Third down, I'll see you guys.
Send a safety in there.
Don't let them convert.
Don't let him convert. The Gronk thing. I'll start with this. If Gronk signs with the Broncos, like if we just get that notification in the next couple days, I am going to be over the moon.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be so exciting. It's
just
going to be
cool.
it's going to be
it's just
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
I don't know that it's something that I would like actually spend my time pursuing.
Yes. No.
Like, but I don't know. I'd be curious to see it more than anything. And I think that I don't know. I feel bad for Adam Troutman because he just gets so much hate. Like, because he's kind of the face of that tight ends room, you know, that's been underperforming. I think he's just been asked to do some things that he isn't great at doing. And I think they give other guys opportunities and hope that a Lucas Kroll will produce more, but he doesn't. And if you just had Adam Troutman do that same thing, you might have even gotten a little bit more out of it. So again, I like Adam Troutman. I think he's a useful player. I think that like he's super smart. But the bottom line is like you send Gronk out there, you probably expect about the same thing at worst, right?
Well, you would bring Gronk in to produce a little bit better, but
You expect.
you would hope. But I mean, Gronk is 35.
He
He has
is.
taken 3 years off. Like, I think it's going to take him some time to get going. Is this like a 2-year deal? Is it a 1-year deal? Like,
It's
how's
gotta
he
be
feeling?
one.
The hell
Oof.
no. It'd be very interesting. I don't know. I don't know how if Gronk still has it, and I don't remember him with Tom Brady in the last couple of years. Like if he was still
I can't. Yeah.
amazing, you know. I'm sure
Yeah.
he was good. I don't think he was ever a time where he wasn't good. But was he like premier Gronk to where he like could have another comeback?
I'm like, could he? What happens when he tries to block a defensive end now? You know, like you would imagine that age wouldn't matter. Like maybe you lose a step of speed. That doesn't matter when it comes to blocking. You should be big and physical. It's just that when your body is 35 years old, I don't know that it holds up to just doing that down after down after down. And if it doesn't, and the idea is we're just going to play him as like a weapon, what if he did lose a step? And it's not that he was like this burner before, but even when you want to give him like a little stop route, like there's a gap in zone coverage, 5 yards, bang, got it. Is he still able to like run guys over, or is the juice just dried up.
We have no clue.
You have no clue
We have
at all.
no clue. We would have to do a pro day.
Yeah.
And see if he still got it.
Oh, could you imagine a Gronk pro day? Like that's when remember when Deion Sanders came here? It's like, oh, we got to put CU's spring game on ESPN, and like 500,000 people watched. Gronk's pro day would do huge numbers.
Oh, go crazy.
Yeah, I'd be tuned in. I'd rather watch that than the combine probably.
Speaking of combine's happening right now.
Yeah, Zach is out there. I don't think we said that yesterday. That's where Zach is. He's out at the combine. He'll be he'll be back tomorrow, I imagine. Looks like he's driving based on the hand signals from Yaya. Oh, it's time for a break. That was break, not driving. Well, if Yaya says it's time for a break, before we get into all the offensive stuff, we will give a shout out to our friends over at Factor. We've done a bunch of meal kits at my house. There's a bunch of them out there, and I think what really sets Factor apart is just how easy it is. There's no like chopping or cutting or putting things together. For a bad cook like me, it's easy to like screw up even the most simple of instructions. Not with Factor, because all you got to do is just pop it in your microwave for 2 minutes. It's that easy. I usually actually put mine in the oven. Back when I did this, when I was doing it was the last time I was losing weight and being healthy. And it actually worked really well because they have the calorie smart options, protein plus, they have keto options, all sorts of different stuff over at Factor. I'm a huge fan, and honestly, I'm kind of tempted to sign back up. I just have to convince my significant other that we're Factor people now, which shouldn't be hard to do because it really is good for you. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Factor podcast and use code Factor Podcast. It's 2 words to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
And shout out to our friends over at UC Health.
Oh, yeah.
And their Live Extraordinary event.
Yes. Do you live extraordinary, Todd?
I try to. I definitely try to.
Because we were talking about the gym this morning.
And I went. Yahir was there. We had some people that say that they went, but, it is what it is.
I didn't lie today.
If you guys want to live extraordinary, you check out our friends at UC Health. You can learn more about living like there is no tomorrow. You can go to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary.
All right, and this is the DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, and we really like it when you give us the thumbs up on the podcast or go into the chat. Comments really help as well, and of course, subscribe to the channel and give us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you just want to download all the apps and give us 5 stars everywhere, we'd appreciate it. The topic for today: why did Sean Payton's Broncos offense exceed expectations in 2024? We did the same thing with the defense, and I think the defense, it was a lot tougher to point to the answers. Why was the offense better? I guess we'll start by talking about how it actually was better. So 2023, they were 19th in points. 2024, they're 10th in points. You see that step forward. They were 26th in yards, jump up to 19th in yards. 7-spot jump there. I think when you look at just about every stat, they did improve just across the board. And I think maybe the biggest improvements came in the red zone, where they still weren't great. I think they were like 11th in the NFL, but that was
still good.
It's still good.
Yeah.
It's still good. But the difference here, I think, is that on defense, it feels like they played the best they possibly could. Here, while you took a step forward in all these categories, there's still more steps to be taken that seem like they're so obvious,
Very attainable. Whether you want to talk about the offensive line and their run blocking, or just, having a really good running game, period. I think that's all going to benefit the offense, help Bo out. And when you start running the ball well, then actually those numbers in the red zone get better. Third down numbers get better because now you're at third and manageable, 3rd and 2 to 3, instead of being at third and 5 to 6. They have a lot of key areas where they can get better. And I look for them to do it this year. This offensive line is going to be playing together for another year.
Yeah.
I mean, minus Cushingberry, they played together 2 years ago, and then this year, new center. Then next year, I think it's going to be the same group of guys. We'll see if they, bring anybody in. But ultimately, this group is being able to play together for multiple years in a row, build continuity. I think they're just going to keep getting better. Have one of the best left and right tackles in the game. Have the best. What's Quinn playing?
Right guard.
Right guard in the game. Ben Powers is no slouch. They have a very good offensive line. It's all about them coming together and just continue to get better.
Yeah. Our guy Mile High Memories on Twitter asked a good question a couple days ago, whether the Broncos should have interest in Drew Dahlman, who's probably the best center on the market, maybe a bit underrated at times, but playing for the Falcons, probably going to get a decent contract. And my answer is just that if you wanted to give a good player, great player money, you would have done it with Lloyd Cushenberry. The Broncos kind of made their choice there. They decided we're not going to pay another position on this line. I think what makes it so interesting is that Luke Wattenberg's going into the final year of his contract. And if he has another year like last year, he probably won't break the bank, but $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million a year is on the table for him. And I'm curious, I guess, first of all, it just depends on how well he plays, but would the Broncos be willing to pay that when they weren't able to pay probably more money to Lloyd Cushenberry? Or is that when you flip into Alex Forsythe or Nick Gargiulo, or do you draft somebody this year? So I agree. Like, the Broncos line is set up. It's just that center spot that it just, even though I like what they've done with it, it just doesn't feel super solidified.
I think not paying Lloyd, yes, they didn't want to pay everybody on the line top dollar, but also I don't think they had the money because of the way the cap was.
You're already getting rid of Justin.
Russell Wilson's still in the books. Like, there's a lot of money that you got to try and maneuver and figure out. I don't think they paid a lot of people in that offseason. It wasn't until like middle of the season or end of the year where they started, giving guys money. And it's tough to have a full 5 guys making top dollar.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of money going
to
the offensive line. And we all know that center position is usually the least talented offensive lineman. So there's a lot of ways where you can kind of cover him up. Yeah. There's a lot of ways you can kind of cover him up. He's working on double teams a lot of times. If he's a solid player, that's good enough, and we can move forward because we have dominant players all around him, and he can make this thing work.
Yep. And if he's solid and really smart, then he's actually a very valuable piece.
For sure, without a doubt.
So that is interesting because whenever I think through the Broncos' losses going into this season, Lloyd just never really comes to mind. You think about like Justin Simmons and Jerry Jeudy.
Well, you never think about offensive line.
You never do.
Never.
And I do my best to like try to think about them.
Yeah, no.
But it's still, there's just no way to do it.
It's a thankless job. It's so important, and they're the first ones to get yelled at if there's a sack or a missed block. But
Russell Wilson out there.
Yeah, but if you like talk about players that deserve more praise for the job that they do, is definitely O-linemen.
Yep. I think long term, like, this is where you just want to be able to draft guys. Again, it's the difference between being a team like the Broncos that has their 7 picks this year, a team like the 49ers who have 12 picks because they just get all those comp picks every single year. They just always have so many. And if the Broncos were in a situation where they have an extra 3rd round pick and an extra 4th round pick, I'd say absolutely go draft a guard, somebody you can develop. And when Ben Powers' contract is up in a year or two, you get to make that choice. Do we want to keep paying Ben? Do we want to go with this cheap guy who we trust? But you want to have guys you can keep cycling through, and in theory might even outperform some of the starters. And they almost had that this year. Mike McGlinchey had a bit of a slow start, gets hurt, and you see Alex Palshevsky go in there and play really well. And I wondered whether they would just keep playing Palshevsky, whether you leave Mike McGlinchey on IR for a while. And Mike came back, played some of the best football of his career. They're smarter than me over there on the Broncos coaching staff. But it's just guys like that, long term, you need to keep doing that. Otherwise, you wind up saying, well, we think Ben Powers is one of the 10 best guards in the NFL, but we've just got to keep paying him. And it's just nice to have those lottery tickets and say, we know that this guy can play. Let's see if he can really play. And then he's doing it for really cheap too.
I mean, drafting well is probably like the most important thing that a front office could do in the NFL. So many teams that have success is because they're able to draft well, build their roster cheaply, and then find really good talent that allows them to continue to be successful. I think you look at the Eagles. They went on and got to take on Barkley in free agency. That was a great move that they did. But most of that team is not the team that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, or the team that competed in the Super Bowl even, what was that, 3 years ago?
Yep.
They drafted really well, and they had young guys like Cooper DeJean and their corner, I forget his name, starting for them this
Quinyon
year.
Mitchell.
Carter up front. Like,
Yep.
they did an amazing
And Jordan
job.
Davis. Not
Jordan
new, but
Davis,
this year, but
Mailata, getting him
Exactly.
from rugby.
Yeah.
Like, they did a great job finding talent. That's why they're back in this position,
Yep.
not because they were able to keep that same team
Yep.
together, pay everybody, and find a way to hold everybody in. It's like, okay, some guys going to be expensive. We got to let them go. We got to find great talent to replace them. So the draft is coming up, and it's super important for your team to be successful year after year.
Yep. And again, like when you let those guys walk, you wind up getting a whole bunch of comp picks. I can't get the Eagles numbers quickly, but it makes it easier to just keep building through that draft. Because again, like right now when you look at the Broncos, you say first round. At this point, I kind of just want a first round running back. Like they're just, those guys are absolute freaks. That means you probably can't draft one in the second round, but I'd probably take another in the third. Tight end, that means in the second. In a perfect world, you get through the first 2 days of the draft, only hitting those two spots, I think, and then you get to use fourth, fifth, sixth. I guess they have fourth, sixth on day 3. That's just not enough to be able to say, like, let's add another guy to this offensive line and see if he pops. Like, we can play a long game on a tackle and say, when Mike McGlinchey's gone in 3 years, or when Garrett Bowles is gone in 3 years, maybe this guy's ready to step up, because you just don't have the assets to be investing in that, because you have to invest in the guys who would play right now. And it's just tough to get over that hump. And it starts by drafting well and eventually not having the money to pay all the guys that you want to keep. Was Bo Nix the biggest reason the Broncos offense took a step forward?
I think so. I think his ability to, well, first of all, he's the guy that Sean wanted and the guy that Sean liked.
Yes.
So first and foremost, they were starting off on a good foot. But then just, anytime a rookie comes in, everybody's like hopeful that he's the guy. And then when Bo Nix came and performed well, I think that elevated everybody's play and gave the entire offense confidence. So I think that he was a big piece of what they did well. And you look at what they did well, it was passing the ball, not necessarily running the ball. So that's all Bo Nix. It has to start with Bo Nix. And I think they did a great job of getting him involved, allowing him to feel comfortable. And, for a rookie season, I thought he progressed and got better week in and week out.
Yep. I went through the stats. So in 2024 versus the year before, the Broncos threw the ball 34 more times. They had 348 more passing yards. So again, like a little bit better average. They had 2 more passing touchdowns, 3 more interceptions. All those numbers are pretty close together. 28 fewer sacks and 106 fewer sack yards this year, though.
That's a big difference.
And it feels like in some ways when you just look at the numbers, all just like the pure passing stats pretty much cancel each other out. But then you just throw in the sacks, and that really is the difference between
game changer.
What Bo did versus what Russ did these past 2 years.
Like a sack at the wrong time, like that's a drive killer, that's a momentum killer.
Totally.
That is like the worst play that can happen sometimes when you're on a drive as an offense. So Bo just not taking sacks, being able to use his legs, get out of trouble, or sometimes stay in the pocket, make the right throw. It really helped our offense to, click more. And it was his first year. I think that not taking sacks was something that he was good at in college. He probably took a few more than he wanted to this year.
Yep.
But I think just as he learns, he'll continue to get better. But just 28 less, that's almost 2 a game. Not quite 2 a game, but it's almost 2 a game.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big difference.
That is.
Yeah.
That really is. Because, that's like 2 drives a game that just aren't being killed.
Done, yeah.
And the Broncos, they also had really bad 3-and-out numbers. I think they might have been the worst in the NFL in terms of
drive.
Oh, yeah, we got to drive again? Where are we going, Yaya? Oh, please be a Toyota ad. Come on. Gonna give a shout out to our friends. We're gonna drive on over to Bet365, another one of our great partners. Bet365, we love them. No Nuggets, no Avs tonight. Luka going. Wait, no, the game is in LA. Luka playing the Mavs tonight. I'm not sure what I'm thinking here. I'm almost thinking like it's just Lakers win by like 20.
Lakers are looking good, right?
They have these past, well, starting with when they played the Nuggets. Yeah, they've been looking good. Yeah, these past game, they've been great. So yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning tonight. They've got all sorts of boosts over there at Bet365. I was looking at like Rockies win totals. You know, on average, there's like 2 baseball teams a year who win less than 60 games. The Rockies win totals at 59.5. So betting on them to win 60 games is essentially saying like they won't be one of the 2 worst teams in baseball. I think I'm all in on that bet. I haven't convinced myself totally, but I think I'm all in. Over 10,000 boosts a month, some that they put together, some that you get to choose yourself. Awesome offers, including new customers get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 and get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
And shout out to our friends over at Game Time. If you guys are looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy, theater, and etc., check out our friends over at Game Time. And that's the view that you're going to see. You're going to see exactly where your seat's going to be. And when you look over those prices, when you toggle over those different prices, it's going to show you exactly what it's going to cost to get you in the door. No extra fees, all in prices. You're going to know exactly what you're going to pay before you click your ticket, not have to wait till you see your cart. With 12 different fees applied, you know exactly what you're going to get with Game Time. And also, they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So you're going to make money if you get a ticket from Game Time and then find it somewhere cheaper. So you can rest assured that Game Time is definitely going to have you covered with the lowest prices. And right now, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off.
All right. This is the DNVR Broncos podcast live from the Toyota Lounge. Also, somebody in the chat said they're making money every year betting the Rockies under. They hit the over last year. Just throwing that out there. Didn't have a good year, but they didn't need one.
They need one if you were betting. They needed one for the team.
Well, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
It would have been really nice.
Why are they bad? What is it?
I mean, mostly they're stupid. They obviously don't have the money like the Dodgers or the Mets do.
Why not?
I mean, because like the Dodgers get $200 million a year from their TV deal. The Rockies are getting $57 million a year. And so there's a quick 150 you got to make up. And then they couldn't even re-sign the TV deal because they were bad. So like they always are like slightly above average in what they pay. So you're right there. The problem is they just don't develop players. They make bad trades. They sign players who aren't good. Like they're only highly paid players. Chris Bryant, who it's been 3 years and he's still done nothing.
Dang.
And so before that was Ian Desmond. But I mean, farm system's good. At some point, if they just don't do stupid things, they'll be fine.
That's tough.
But the Broncos, more hopeful. We talked about the passing game. Let's hit the running game a little bit. They ran the ball 10 more times in 2024 than 2023. They had 100 more yards. So they're slightly more efficient, which is crazy to think about because we were so disappointed in the running game this year. It's tough to believe that it was actually a little bit better than what they did the year before.
I would consider 100 yards better. I just call it even.
It's the same thing.
Even.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because 100 yards over 17 games, like,
yeah,
what was that, 4 yards a game?
4 yards a game.
You don't even see that. You
It's
know
also
what I'm saying?
like Bo Nix's rushing yards instead of Russ's.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's probably yeah.
But yeah, I think the running game is something like everybody knows that they want to get better at. I think they will get better at. Bringing somebody in will be very, very important to their success. So I know that's important to the team, and I look for them to get better in the running game. The running game is only going to help the team be more successful. So they're going to want to see it progress.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, again, it just seems so easy. It's just like
it's not, but
you just put a running back in there who's fast and a little physical. Really can break maybe an arm tackle or two in the hole. All of a sudden, like, am I delusional for thinking like, yeah, all of a sudden you're one of the 10 best running teams in the NFL if you just get like, let's say with like a top 12 running back in the league?
You're delusional for thinking it's easy.
Okay.
But Can they be successful with a dog at running back? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not easy.
No?
No.
It's just because it's hard to find the dog? Because it's hard, like I'm expecting too much from the offensive line to be able to just do what they did again?
Yeah, I think it's, one, it's hard to find a dog. Two, it's hard to game plan and scheme up against some really good defensive linemen.
Yep.
3 is health. 4 is opportunity. You got to put yourself in the position of where you can run the ball sometimes.
Yep.
If you're trailing late in the game, we're not running the ball. We're going to throw the ball. So, I mean, there's a couple different factors to being a successful, running team, but I think it's doable, but I won't say it's easy.
You mentioned the scheming the run game. I, at points, thought that what they were doing was genius. Like, I think you even did like an inside scoop. I wrote about it on the website. But they had like this little combo of, let's see, they'll run like the split zone. So it's out of shotgun. You have the tight end coming across, cleaning up the guy on the backside. Running back takes up the middle. They take that into like the fake split zone read option, where instead the tight end is pulling all the way out in front, not hitting the edge. You're reading the edge, and he's going and cleaning up somebody else. So if Bo wants to pull it, he can run around that edge and in theory have the same opportunity running inside. And you see like some of these pieces of the run game, they're building off each other. Or like it felt like there was like a 3-week stretch where whenever they'd run a trap, it would be a 10-yard gain. Like they were just hitting that over and over and over again. It just felt like at different times they were finding things that worked, but then randomly one week it would go back to being like, it feels like you're just trying to run the ball straight ahead and it's not working. And all that creativity just dried up.
I mean, it feels like it was a similar game plan from week to week. I mean, things change week to week. I think sometimes you just face teams who are better at defending the split slash. Like, personally for me, when I played defense, we were set up in a way where it was like you understand, one back, one gap. Everybody has their assignment.
Totally.
Whether you hit the end or not and you bluff him, it's the same play for us.
Yep.
I'm fit to get the same. Whoever's flashing back is going to be outside the tight end. Whoever's inside is hitting their interior gaps. Whether you pull it or give it, we have enough bodies to kill it.
Yep.
So
every gap is accounted for.
Every gap is accounted for.
Yep.
So I don't know if this is what they were doing. You said you watched them,
I knew months ago.
But, some teams are just better equipped to stop certain run games,
Yep. I go back the trap runs too.
Trap one, that was the most difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to see sometimes. And you got to be able to there's so much happening.
And those things happening are, you basically let the defensive lineman fly through.
Yeah.
And then that means the guard is able to go. Well, the guard
is on you right now.
Exactly.
So you got to make the decision of whether you need to go back or step up.
Yep.
Because when they're running trap, you need to step up. But if they're just pulling the guard, then you need to go back.
Okay.
But if you make the wrong decision, there's a huge gap, and the guard now can cut you out.
Do you look to see if they just unblock that defensive line for a bit and the other guard is going across? Right? Because that'd be the guard who goes and cleans him up.
It's just a feel. It's just a feel thing. Because what happens is most of the time when they pull that guard, it's a double team on the front side.
Yep.
So it's a double team working to the backside linebacker. You got to be able to feel like as soon as they pull him, if you have a guard coming up right now, something's wrong. Something's different. They're not trying to smash down the line to get around anymore.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to feel it and step up into it.
Do you think this offensive line, like what should they be good at? Like defense aside, because I have a tough time. Like I love when Quinn is pulling. So whether that's a trap, whether that's a counter, I think that is what you build everything else around because he's your best player.
Yep.
And if that's what he's best at, that's where you start. And you find pieces that fit. I don't know that Mike McGlinchey's a great fit. And I think, again, he had a great season. He's more of that, outside zone, overtake the defensive end, use that athleticism to pin him back inside. And so I wonder if some of these pieces just don't quite line up the way you'd want them to.
Well, I think it's all a matter of how you use them. I think you talked about Mike McGlinchey, and I think it's if you have Quinn pulling all the time, Mike doesn't have to be a brawler. Like you're saying,
you're going the other way.
He can cut off.
He's just on the
He can cut off, even if you want to go same side pull game, then he would just step and cut, use the athleticism.
Which is one of those Eagles plays they go back to a lot.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that everything can work together and you can use everybody's strength. It's just, I think it does start with Quinn. Like you want to keep him downhill sometime too, because he's a monster on double teams. So I think between having some kicks and kicks is just double team, and the running back can just literally pick a gap. Or you have some traps, or you have some pulls, or you have some counters, where maybe you pull Mike McGlinchey too, and he's the second man coming around the bend, and he's just cleaning up whoever's there. Like you can use his athleticism as well as using, what Quinn does best.
Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, the thing that they're best at is the screens. It's like when you get Quinn, Mike, and even Luke out there, they're so mobile. They're so mobile on that sideline of scrimmage. And back when they had Lloyd Cushenberry too, like that was incredible because and that's why people were talking about him as a first-round pick at the time, is because he is just so fluid in space. He's out there finding somebody. And Luke, maybe not quite to that level, but along those same lines. And I think that you have... Like Luke, again, not like the big pusher brawler type, but he has those long arms. Like nobody's getting by him in pass protection. He's pretty fluid, so he can get up to the second level. Mike, again, similar to that. You have Bowles over there who's just like, these Bowles, like he'll fight a guy. He's pretty quick on his feet too. Then Powers, who's kind of just like, he's big, he's strong, you won't move him. There's so many different kinds of skill sets on that line. And I'm curious... I think there's a way to maximize them better. I don't feel like they were maximized.
I think that, we talked about a running back. I think a running back that doesn't need much daylight would help them too.
I agree.
Whether that's Jalil getting more touches or however they want to do it, like, because they're not all brawlers, like, I don't need... It's
not just duo push ahead.
I don't need 3 feet of space. You give me 12 inches, pause.
Hey, that's plenty.
You know
for
what I'm saying? They're able to get in that gap and make somebody miss, and then you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was a big pause.
That was a big pause. 12 inches.
But there's some running backs that don't need a lot of space. Sometimes you ever watch film like, how did he get through there? You know what I'm saying? Some guys are just agile and able to get and wiggle through tight spaces.
And there's some guys where it's like, who see the whole opening before it's open. And so it's like, as it's opening, you're going through instead of like as it's closing, foreplay. Where it feels like that's a lot of like Javonte. A lot of the time it felt like the hole was just like, oh, is he going to get through? He's like, oh, it got through right before it closed, but like had to fight through an arm tackle, or guys on both sides got arms up. You don't see them just like bursting through as it's opening untouched, and the defense doesn't see it coming. The linebacker hasn't read that it's open yet. And I wonder if maybe it really is as simple as like you just add like an Ashton Genty. Even that it probably is unrealistic at this point. Maybe he just does so much that instead of saying like, I don't know, they're kind of like half this power type line, half kind of a finesse type line. The pieces might not work together perfectly. Maybe you say like they're just incredibly versatile because he's maximizing all of that. And an offensive line that was one of the best in the NFL all of a sudden just is like, yep, we just get 4.5 yards per carry now because all we needed was this one piece to make everything fit together.
Not opposed to it.
Not opposed to it. Okay, that was a lot of offensive line talk. Real quick, I want to hit, is this sustainable? Because it really feels like to me, the Broncos offense shouldn't get worse next year. Like it really shouldn't, because you can see where there's easy room to grow. Like you're such a young group. The momentum is in the right direction. It just feels like this should be, the floor should kind of be what they just did. There's one thing that worries me though, and by the end of the offseason, this might not be true. They're very reliant on Courtland Sutton. He was their one skill position guy who you could just go to over and over and over. He was the one guy you could trust every game. Like Marvin Mims gave you a couple really good games, which is awesome. But there are other games where he didn't. Troy Franklin had a big play. Jaleel had some good games. But Courtland Sutton, game in, game out, he was the most important skill position player in your offense.
For sure.
He needs to be healthy. And we'll knock on wood whenever we bring this up. But in a world in which the Broncos, as they're currently constructed, don't have Courtland Sutton for a game, that game plan is tough to... Like, you're going screens. You're doing all sorts of weird stuff to try to just get, like, Troy Franklin, ball in space, see what happens. that's the one thing where I'm sure they'll be adding more talent, but if they go into this and it feels the same way where it's like Courtland Sutton is your one trustworthy piece, that puts you in a tough spot if you have a game or two without him.
Shout out to Courtland because I think he was the best offensive player that we had all year and really was Mr. Reliable. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very, very evident that the offense will not come back constructed in the same manner.
That's the thing.
And Sean's talked about it on many different platforms. It's very well known. They're looking for a joker. They're looking for a playmaker. We've done it. We've done drafts. We tried to take Genty and Warren. We tried to go get Loveland. We've tried to go get Trayvon. Like we've done
first for Travis Hunter.
Everything we can to try and jumpstart this offense to make it look a little bit different and add some different pieces to it next year. So I think they're doing the same thing. Like, how can we get Sean the guys that he's looking for and the guys that he wants to play? And I think that you start to look at who they have in the room and you feel confident that they're going to take another step. Like Marvin Mims is a player that even 2 years ago, it was just how can we get him more on the field? How do we get him more touches? Because when he does get the ball in his hands, whether it's deep shots, whatever it may be, he makes plays. Now this year, he follows up to like getting a little bit more opportunity. All he does is make more plays. So I hope they continue with that trend. More opportunities means more plays, which means more success for Marvin Mims. So I feel good about, Vele, Marvin
totally.
Mims. Like I feel good about everybody taking the next step.
Yep.
Because I think that's what you saw from the defense. It was questions. What is Nick Benito going to do? Went crazy. What is Zach Allen going to do next year?
Even
how
Pat.
good is JFM going to be?
Totally.
We don't know. Riley Moss, first year starting. Was he like everybody took a step, and that's all you need from the defense to be 30th. To be in the top 5.
All you need is every player to be better.
I mean, when you say it like that, I mean, you had guys that were as good as they were advertised the year before.
Yep.
And then you had guys step up and be better. Some guys you knew that were going to be successful. But I think that's what you need from this offense. I mean, you got the front. You know they're going to be good. You know they're going to be talented. Bo, you know he's going to continue to take steps. Cortland, you know you're going to need to take a step. Now you're talking about three positions you need to take off. Like, that's not a lot. 3 guys you need to do more than what everybody expects from them. That's really not asking too much.
Totally. And there's a chance we go into next year and it's not just Courtland Sutton, it's Chris Godwin. And guess what? You got Mike Gesicki. Yeah. And you still drafted Colson Loveland to back him up. You got Aaron Jones running the football net. Like, you really could go through and have, like, it wouldn't feel like Courtland Sutton is the guy. But, I mean, if you don't go get Godwin and you wind up with Gesicki and Najee Harris and, Colson Loveland in the first round and, first half of the year he starts a little slow, rookie running back helping with Najee, same thing. Like, you could wind up in a situation where you decide, let's not overspend this year. Let's kind of run back. Let's add a couple pieces. Let's build through the draft and still be a little bit reliant on Courtland Sutton. And I think maybe that's the one thing I want to avoid, just because it's just unrealistic to say, we need this guy, otherwise the offense kind of just breaks.
Well, that's what the Eagles did.
At least they
so
have
many
AJ
teams
Brown.
do. I think so many teams are built that way. You would be surprised.
Like, what are the Chiefs without Travis Kelce? Even though he wasn't himself, like, all of a sudden, the whole passing game is just different.
Yeah, everybody has one guy.
Everybody
and then
does.
Hopefully you have some guys step up, or you have some other guys that are also very talented. But usually you have like one superstar.
Yep. I think the biggest thing for me is still the running back. And we talked about this on the draft pod. We're going to do a little role play.
Bro.
Sorry, I was looking you dead in the eye for that one too.
The way this pod is going.
Here's what the Broncos need, I think. It's pretend you're Bo Nix.
Yeah.
You as you probably often do. Happy birthday, Bo.
Thank you.
You break the huddle. You're walking up to the line of scrimmage. It's 3rd and 5. You see they're rushing for. You take your running back and say, you know what, we don't need you help in protection. Flex him out in the slot. And it's a linebacker, say Alex Singleton, who falls him out there. You know it's man coverage. You need a guy at the running back position who, on a 3rd and 5, you say, you're going to beat this linebacker, and I'm throwing the ball to you. Because that to me is kind of the test for the whole like Joker thing, is if you're really that Joker type guy, can you do that? And that's where I think that just unlocks so much, because you find some things that the Broncos did well to convert those 3rd downs. Like Bo Nix on those out routes, like those quick outs, specifically like Devon Bailey. They were hitting some of those where it's like that's a throw I didn't know he had in him. Like I wasn't sure that he had the arm strength to get that to the sideline before it gets jumped. And he doesn't necessarily have like the arm strength to be late with it. He probably has to throw it just a little bit early, but you see him like hit some of those and stress the boundaries. You just got to find that one guy, and I think a running back and probably a tight end too, who can give you something over the middle, who could just win on a slant against a linebacker.
I think that's what they're missing. I think that's what they've said multiple times. Like that's what they need, like a matchup hell for the defense.
Yes.
Like no matter where we put him, if he's a running back, if he's at wide receiver, if he's at 1, 2, 3, you can't guard him.
Mm-hmm.
You can try and double him, but we'll be creative on where we put him.
We'd love to see him doubled.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're missing that guy that just nobody can guard him.
Yep. And that's my test for the rest of the offseason. Is like
that guy.
Is Ashton Genty that guy? It's like I don't know, because I think he's athletic enough, but I don't know that we've ever seen on tape he has that skill set. You know, I think again we were talking about this last week in the context of Cam Scatterbo, who again, very good receiver out of the backfield, does a lot of things. Is he a guy who, when he lines up across from Alex Singleton, he beats him? I don't know. Like, I think Aaron Jones is still kind of that guy, even if maybe we haven't seen him used that way quite so much. You know, Ty Johnson with the Bills might be some of that at a budget. So French Fry McFlurry, great comment in the chat. Genty was a slot receiver in high school. So we're
Probably
gonna
a little bit skinnier.
He probably was. He is not skinny
He's
anymore.
solid now.
Yeah.
Pause. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy again. I think that I might be going back to watch Ashton Genty in high school. But that to me, you need that. You need a tight end who can do something over the middle. I don't even care whether it's like, is it stretching the seam? Sure. Middle of the field, that counts. Is it just sitting, against cover 4 in the middle of the field, splitting those linebackers? Sure, that counts.
Well, you wouldn't split a linebacker in cover 4 if somebody had.
Sorry, I meant cover 3. I was thinking the 4 guys in the middle.
I didn't mean to do that to you.
No, you're right. You're always right. I know. You wouldn't split. No. I was like, cover 2. No, cover 4. Yeah. But yeah, I think, so those are the two. And if you want to wind up with a slot receiver who can do the same thing, that's great. And if you want to say, you know what, we'll trust Devon Bailey to do some of that. If you get those other 2 guys, that's fine. We're going to see if Marvin Mims can take that step and be a bit of a threat there, catch and run from over the middle. That works with me as long as you get those 2 other guys, because you got to have 2 guys testing the middle of the field this offseason, because right now it feels like you just that's what's missing, and those should be the throws that Bo Nix is best at.
Yeah, the easy throws. And I think maybe you start with tight end, because running backs, although they're great, when you line them up in the slot, a majority of their pass catching is going to be out the backfield. So I think that the tight end is actually the guy that you need to be able to get open in 3rd and 5, create havoc over the middle, and then there's certain times where the running back runs like a B angle or option route where he's getting, but that's all coming out of the backfield. But I think that is important as well. But I think primarily probably be the tight end's job to get open in the middle of the field.
Yep. Definitely. How much can the offense improve this year? Well, we got 6 minutes left.
I mean, man, they could be 25% better than they were.
Is it just as simple as like, as much talent as you add, you're going to get that much better?
I don't think it's ever that simple in football, but I do think, if Bo has 25% more yards, if whoever the running back has 25% more rushing yards, like that's a pretty significant bump up for the team. So I don't know. I don't think you just like adding a top tier wide receiver makes you automatically a shoe-in to be the number 1 offense. And I think if you look at past offenses, it never really works out like that. And you always have either one dark horse or, whatever it may be.
There's always something that happens.
Yeah.
It's like remember when Tyreek Hill went to the Dolphins?
Yeah.
You're like, Tyreek.
Oh, it's over.
It's like, you can't stop it.
Yeah.
And for a second, you're even watching those games being like, wait, are they so good that you really are they just going to run to the Super Bowl because there's just no way to defend this?
Yeah.
And then something happens. And it's you struggle against really good defenses. Just take that away. Like, what was their record? They're like 1-7 against teams with winning records or something like that. And it's like, oh, so there's the flaw. Or who else built that? I mean, even the Eagles before Saquon, when they first got AJ Brown with Devontae Smith, you're like, oh, is this
and
over?
They also had,
they were hot for a second.
Who was the running back?
Because
he's a dog too. What's his name?
DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Swift
he was
a
good.
dog. Yeah.
He was. And they had the tight end. I don't know. It does feel like you always have those offenses where you put those pieces together, and for a second you're like, wait, this might be real. Something always happens though.
It's always so much happening within a season that you got to continue to adapt, continue to get better, continue to put in new plays, continue to evaluate, continue to self-scout. Like, it's never just as easy as give me the right guys and I'm ready to go. Like, it's a lot of work from the coaching staff to be able to keep us get to peak and then keep us at peak. It's hard.
Because as soon as you find something you're good at, the defense will say, how do we stop it?
How do we stop that?
And then if they're stopping it by doing that, then you have to say, well, because they're using assets over here, how do we now do something else that's going to work? And then it's just cat and mouse and cat and mouse. And eventually you get to the point where the Eagles were, where it's just like, if Jalen Hurts just takes advantage of the opportunities, there's something on every play because you just can't stop all of this.
I think that Super Bowl is like a prime example of adaptation. Like, they're going to stop Saquon.
Yep.
Like, I don't care what you do, Saquon's not going to beat us.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have to adapt.
One-on-one with AJ Brown. We can win a Super Bowl if all game you give us this one matchup.
Now we can adapt.
Yep.
Like, we would love to run the ball with Saquon. Like, that's our bread and butter.
Yep.
Off the line is dogs. He's a great player, probably a Hall of Famer. Like, that's what we want to do. But as soon as you take that away, okay, what else are we good at? Like, how can we adapt to what you're giving us? Now, like you said, it's AJ Brown, it's Smith on the outside. Like, that's our adaptation to you taking away what we do best.
What's the Broncos' bread and butter on offense?
I
don't know.
I don't think they have one thing that they're. You know what? I feel like over the course of the season, I can probably say it was Bo Nix' athleticism and the screen game.
I was thinking screens.
I think that's what, they were the best at.
Yep.
Like, across the league, if you look at what people are good at, I think some of the wide receiver screens, the slip screens, the jailbreak screens, getting the ball in the Marvin Mims' hands early, like, that's what I feel like they did really well and can really build on. Yeah, I'd probably say that.
I think the way to build on it is by getting a tight end, because that was the one piece of the screen game that just didn't really click, because you have the receiver screens, you have like the tunnel screens, you got the bubble screens, you got running backs. What you need is, like, Harold Fannin would be a great example, because then all of a sudden you're stressing the defense in the middle too. Screens is a weird bread and butter though. I feel like
it?
I think so. But that's the one thing where it's like, because how do you, if you go into a game saying like, okay, they're just going to try to screen us to death, like, first thing we got to do, stop the screen, that's the bread and butter. Isn't that just everybody pay attention to the offensive line? Like, are they going out there, like, make sure you're on top of your assignments and man coverage, and you should be able to take it away?
Well, not every screen is the same.
Yep.
And offensive lines, there's times where they go the same direction. They can go opposite directions.
There's
you
some
can
where
run
they
tunnel screens.
do the
they
weird, like,
cross.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of different screens that you could have within the game. And then you got other plays like a screening goals, where now you thought it was going to be a screen. Cortland Sutton looked like he was going to block. Then he took off and we're throwing the goal. Like, there's a lot of ways you could, like, now the screen game, you attach that to the RPO game, and that opens up the run game a little bit more. I mean, it's not a terrible bread and butter, and I think Sean's always loved screens.
He has.
Even Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, like, you're going to get a few screens, and you better be ready for it. And that puts you on your heels. You can't attack as hard.
Yep.
You're not blitzing all day. So if we catch you off guard, like, it usually is a good play for him.
All right, we've got super chat here to round out the show. Coming in from Joe Guerrero, $10. Happy birthday to the GOAT, or boat, if you will. Bo Chapman Nix. What do we think of boat? It's like GOAT. Best of all time?
Bo of all times?
Bo of all time. Like defensive pad of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boat.
Okay, we can get happy birthday to Bo. I think we might have been muted when I said that the first time, but I did say happy birthday. And I also just realized I said happy birthday to you when you were Bo.
You did.
Which that might go over people's heads because we were muted the first time. But that's going to do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Zach. At least in theory, he should be back tomorrow. Broncos going to be talking today at the Combine, so we'll have some good stuff to talk about tomorrow, and we will see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.